Well, this has been a really good day. Can't believe all the things we've gotten to see. So over here, everyone, where'd everybody go? Hey! You're supposed to follow me! Who's leading who? Well, good morning, Connection Point Church. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to share the word with you this morning. We're going to look at God is our better leader. There are so many examples of leadership in the world around us today, but God is the best example. And here's why. God's had a plan from the very beginning, and you're a part of that plan. We have to follow the examples that we've seen around us and do what God's called us to do. We're meant to be leaders. But the people of Israel, they didn't have a book with all of the instructions that we have today. So how did God lead his people when they were just coming out of Egypt and wandering through the desert? He used people that fit into different categories and different roles throughout the Old Testament. People that God used typically fit into 4 different roles. We had prophets, and they were the ones that would hear from God and tell the people this is what we need to do, and the people were supposed to do it. There were judges, and judges usually came to the rescue of the people when they had been in captivity and they needed to be set free. There were kings, and kings came to be because the people of Israel wanted an earthly representation of their leader. And then we have priests. Priests, of course, were the spiritual leaders of the people of Israel. Even with all of those different leadership roles, the people still went astray. Each of the examples of leadership we have in the Old Testament had great qualities and characteristics, but they each had their flaws. And then came Jesus. You want to talk about a mighty good leader. The Bible says in Matthew 20, verses 25 and 28, Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus was our example of what it means to be a leader. And leadership means service. We are called to serve those that we lead. We see a really great example of this in Jesus' life in the book of John. John 13, 4-10 says this. "So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, 'Lord, are you going to wash my feet?' Jesus replied, 'You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand.' 'No,' said Peter, 'you shall never wash my feet.' Jesus answered, 'Unless I wash you, you have no part with me.' 'Then, Lord,' Simon Peter replied, 'not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well.' Jesus answered, 'Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you.'" Leave it to Peter to want to overdo things just a little bit. But Peter's not unlike us. We often think, "Oh Lord, if that's what I need, give me more, give me more. Lord, give me more." We have the perfect example of leadership in the life of Jesus. We don't have to look any further than Jesus to find the leadership characteristics that we should have in our lives as leaders. He led by example, he had integrity, and he was consistent. Christ embodied all the characteristics of great leadership, and he still does today. He made the law complete. Romans 8, 3 and 4 says, "For what the law was powerless to do because it was weakened by the flesh, God did by sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh to be a sin offering. And so he condemned sin in the flesh in order that the righteous requirement of the law might be fully met in us, who do not live according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit." Jesus came to be an example, and he lived a life that was perfect, completely embodying what true leadership is. He should be our example. John 3:30 says, "He must become greater, and I must become less." So we must become less. The Old Testament leaders reflected part of Christ, but we must reflect the whole of Christ. We should be led by him, and we should be led by the Spirit. You have it in you to be a great leader, and you have the perfect role model in Jesus Christ. Go out there today and make a difference and lead by the example that Christ has shown each of us. We love you. Like, share, comment, subscribe. We want to see you in the days and weeks to come. And we we want to see you be a successful leader. God bless.